when it hits you. Whoa, whoa, I say one good thing about music. When it hits you, you feel okay. Hit me with music, yeah. Hit me with music.
Yeah. Welcome out to the RemiX Morning Show. Go by the name of the Ear Doctor, Black Power Media. And your host for the day is Dr. Jared Ball, Kalonji Changa. We got Kamal K. Franklin. And we got Burn It Down, Kim Brown. Let's get it.
I'll give the summer try. I'll never let the children cry.
Yes, right on here, Doctor. Appreciate that.
More Bob. Always more Bob.
Always more Bob. Trenchtown Rock in the building. We need that. Shout out to Bob Marley and the Wailers. It's a Bob Marley kind of day. Shout out to Peter Tosh.
I just heard a belated birthday to Rita Marley. I just happened to catch some of the live tribute they had to her the other day, which was off the hook, of course. A lot of talent in that family. In that big family.
Lioness energy. Yes. Shout out to Rita.
And needed that today, of course, with all coming off the bad news we got yesterday of the passing of Glenn Ford. I'll have a commentary about that later on, but just off the top, it's a huge loss to the work that we're all trying to do. And wish him, and his family all the best and rest in power and all that good stuff.
No doubt. So, definitely Black Agenda Report has a serious hole. You know what I mean? We went from Bruce Dixon. Those of you remember Bruce, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bruce who transitioned a couple years ago. You know what I mean? He was out here in Georgia. And definitely, like you said, Glenn Ford, you know what I mean? Black Agenda Report was to many what we're attempting to do right now from a audio visual perspective. You know what I mean? So definitely shout out to them. You know what I mean? Rising power, Glenn Ford.
Yes, indeed. And good morning to everybody. I know that's filling into the chat, and I know sharing their condolences. Thanks to Black Miss Podcast for their tribute last night. Excuse me. That's up on the site now that we invite people to check out as well.
No doubt.
Yeah, Glenn was a real dude. Like I had the opportunity to be acquainted with Glenn, I want to say 2016. And I had the chance to interview him several times. And in our pre-recorded interview banter, I'm just gonna say it straight up, like me and Glenn would nigger it up really well because Glenn Ford was hilarious. He always had jokes. We always got off a couple of, light-skinned jokes at each other. And I appreciate people who are genuine, real, not taking themselves too seriously, but very dedicated to the community and pushing us forward. So it was extremely sad to hear about Glenn's passing yesterday. So wishing him a peaceful journey as he goes on to the next plane.
Yeah, I'll only add, I didn't know Glenn that well, but obviously Black Agenda, I know pretty well. I've had the opportunity to have pieces published in it. And, it was a go-to piece, like particularly for international news, like from a Pan-Africanist and Black perspective, left news. It was something that a lot of the writers were well-researched, written, and something that sort of gave you some energy and some knowledge, and it was hard to find that in some other places. So it's a big loss. Yeah,
no doubt. You're checking out the RemiX Morning Show. You know what I mean? And if you just tuned in, you know what I mean, we bigging up Glenn Ford, legend out in these tweets, as they say. You know what I mean? And
just quickly, sorry, I worked with him, knew him well for about 10 years or so, and we'll share a little bit about that in the next hour. And if I can, just very quickly on a somewhat related note, unfortunately, I just want to come back to this fundraiser again, because like a lot of people, like Glenn, a lot of people who give themselves over to the struggle don't have the adequate support that they need. And Katia Stitt, who has been a longtime struggler, beneath the surface. She's done as much and all the kind of work that nobody pays attention to, but that drives all of these movements, and she still needs a lot of help. And I just want to say very quickly, sort of in the spirit of Glenn, I'm disappointed in where the Black community and the broader radical community is in relationship to this fund. And Katia, who has worked with Pacifica Radio, nationally known for years, and has been involved with all kinds of movements. I was even hating, to be honest, going through the donation page and looking at some names that I know who know her very well, and look at the donation numbers. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. This sister needs help and deserves much more support. She would never say it the way I'm saying it. So I don't want anybody to hold that against her. But I find this to be just dissatisfactory. And I think, so I just want to put that out there, like, that Pacifica network is pretty big. It's national. Amy Goodman and them are on that joint still. There's other big names that are associated with that. I'm sorry?
Big markets, New York, DC, Bay. I mean, places with a little bit of dollars. So, and
they all know her. Okay, they all know her. So nobody should be fronting out here like Anyway, so I would encourage people to please support and anyway.
I appreciate you putting that out there, Jared, because of the fact that, unfortunately, we, and it's fair, rightfully so. Unfortunately, we give so much love when we can no longer feel it. You understand what I'm saying? We give so much love when someone transitions, but while we hear, unfortunately, it's a different program, a different story. It's like you're waiting for the next man, but then we yelling, we jumping up and down, talking about how we for the people and all this other malarkey. If you be for your people, all the time, not when you, I got the feeling today. You know what I'm saying?
And especially somebody like that, man. She is, nobody's gonna be mad at her. Katia is, she could have no enemies. You know what I mean? She doesn't. She one of the kindest people in the world. And anyway. Word. So, in the spirit of Glenn, maybe not in the eloquence of Glenn, I'm encouraging people to get busy and support.
No doubt.
Her.
No doubt.
Anyway.
Yeah.
How you all doing this morning? Other than that, it's good to see you all. I'm very happy to welcome Angus, Olmstead.
What up,
encourage
Angus?
Others to join them.
Okay.
Join and support the channels. We continue to expand and build and grow. Keep doing this work.
No doubt. I like that we started the show off with Trenchtown Rock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that we paying tribute, to a fallen soldier, and we're working to lift up another soldier so she won't fall. You understand what I'm saying?
How about that?
So in the spirit of the Remix Morning Show, if you all will allow me, we got to turn it up a couple notches real quick and get that energy up. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that we're going to live like we're here to do, and we're going to support our people, and we're going to win, and we're going to be victorious. So let today be a celebratory day. You understand what I'm saying? Shout out to all the remixers out there that put in that work, that rock with us every single morning, because of the fact that we get up, we know that you're there because we see the numbers. You know what I mean? So we absolutely appreciate the support. There's a whole lot of morning shows out there. It's a whole lot of radio shows, but you come and you rock with us, and we got to say that we absolutely, from the bottom of our hearts, appreciate that love, because of the fact that, we feel it for real. You know what I mean? And you inspire us. That's on the real. You know what I mean? And there's days that I think that all of us wake up like, I don't feel like fucking with this. I'm not feeling the mood today. You know what I mean? But we're inspired by you all. So definitely shout out to all the remixes and the team, seen and unseen.
And similar to the point, again, in the spirit of Glenn, the other thing that's inspiring not only is the the valued and committed supporters that we have already. But it's that if you ever just peek out at the other media that's being produced in the morning or otherwise, it's like, damn, we got to get out there and help out a little bit because good Lord have mercy. It's a mess.
I'm glad you said it. Because I'm just like, sometimes I'm looking like what your man say, he's all right, but he's not real. BPM's that deal. You know what I mean? Yes, I feel you on that. At the expense of sounding cocky, but fuck that. That's what it is. Good morning, remixers. BPM's in the building. What up, Kamal? How you doing? Kim
I'm
Brown,
doing good. It's one of those mornings where I'm just waking up. You know, I got that coffee in hand.
Okay.
Although I like my morning voice. It's kind of deep. You know, it's kind of like a little more bass in my morning voice.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So like Friday afternoon is going to be like, so hey, we got to get together and do this. But right now it's like, you know, so I'll be doing a lot of talking later on. Don't you worry about it.
Well, just stay in the morning, brother. Stay in the morning. Kim, what up?
I might have to resume my caffeine habit. Like I had quit coffee maybe a couple months ago, and I'm realizing that, you know, doing these morning shows with y'all, you know, all my synapses are not firing on all cylinders. So I'm gonna have to resume my coffee and go holler at the Ethiopian brothers and sisters of the block because they got the real deal.
Okay. Oh yeah, birthday shout out.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. So you.
I was gonna say, speaking of birthdays, I asked Kim earlier if she survived her birthday. She said, I am fully grown, thank you. Of course I did. I was like, what? I'll just mess with you.
I stopped getting drunk before I turned 30. Now you know what I do. You know what I do, shorty. Ain't nobody ever overdosed on cannabis. Never.
Just fall asleep early. That's about it.
And constantly throughout the day.
It's not the same as overdose.
Exactly. That's my point. That's it.
Speaking of that, I was talking to my mom. She was telling me about a friend of the family, right? And she was like, man, you know, she said, you know Al? I said, yeah, I know Al. She said, yeah, man. He lives in Connecticut, right? So she was like, yeah, man, they called me the other day. This dude got pulled over in Pennsylvania. I said, what did he get pulled over for? She said he put in his GPS that he was going home in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And this dude was so drunk, he ended up in Pennsylvania crashing into a car. I'm like, damn, he must have been. I mean, you talking about you went through 3 states. I mean, I don't know where you live, but I'm sure you could have walked home for all that time. So shout out to Al.
I'm glad everybody made it.
I'm glad that everybody made it, including Al. Crazy
driving like that, man.
Yeah,
we gotta.
I thought about
we advocate Uncle Nearest, but Uncle Nearest, when you sitting still and you not nearest a car, you know.
Uncle Nearest ain't gonna do you like that, man. I don't think Uncle Nearest gonna do you that bad. He must have had some of that naughty head. Anyway, happy born date real quick before we go to Ear Doctor. Shout out to my man Marcus Klein. You know what I'm saying? Freedom Home Academy. You know what I'm saying? It's born date today, whatever.
Right on.
We've been rocking together, organized for over 20 years. So definitely salute to him. Also to some more of our FTP comrades. We got my man Shakur Sunni Ali. You know what I'm saying? His born date today, along with his sister Afua Sunni Ali. His parents, their parents, my godparents, Fulani Sunni Ali, who's an ancestor right now, and Bilal Sunni Ali, who you've seen on the Remix Morning Show. I mean, on Riot Starter TV. It's all the same gang, though. You know what I mean? So definitely shout out to them. Those are 3 my favorite revolutionary folks out there. So born day salute to y'all.
Happy born day. Yes,
Leo season. Yes. Y'all watch out for them lions out here, man. Don't provoke no lions during Leo season.
Not a mercy.
We will not be held responsible for whatever happens after your provocation.
Speaking of responsible, let the sun shine in. We got the Ear Doctor in the building. What it sound like over that part of town?
What's good? You know, it's about time to find out what sample is what. So we're gonna get our game on early. So all my people in the chat room, get your thinking caps on. Let's go.
Let's go. Remix.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. What's good, everybody out there? This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and this is Black Power Media. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, and join the page. And also go to patreon.com and show your love and spend a little bit, drop something in the bucket so we can make sure this thing keep moving. All right, with that said, my son came to me yesterday and he was like, yo, Pops, I got a sample for you. I was like, oh, word? You got a sample for me? I was like, all right, well, I'm going to see how it sounds, and then we're going to see if we can run it on the morning show. So, boom, the sample he gave me was something that went back to 1975, and this right here is something goes by the name of Gene Harris off his album Astral Signal. That's right, Astral Signal. So let's go to it. And once again, once you hear it, let me know in the chat room who you think used this sample. Let's go. All right. I gave y'all a little bit of that right there. Let's look in the chat room and see if we got something. If we have an answer, if we do or if we don't. I see no answers. That might have been a little tricky one. I was like, all right, son, you came with it. All right. How did that get flipped? Let's see. So once again, like I said, we went from my man Gene Harris, who came out with that in 1975, to what came out to 1995 with somebody by the name of Mike Geronimo.
Mike Geronimo. Yeah, I mean, check it out. Check it out. I'm so high, you so high. I'll be getting money till the day that I die. I'm so high.
That's right. There it is. Mike Geronimo came out with Master IC, the Natural album, in 1995. So 20 years later, that sample got used. Now that's what it is. This is Black Power Media. Let's take it back to the morning crew. You know how we do. All right.
I get no man is similar to mental migraine. The master I see enters now in your game. It's been a long time, maybe too long, since your audio produced a real rap song. I wrong a man who's shouting on a jack up in the plan.
So I see that you took it personally when I said the other day that the joint was too easy.
I mean, you gotta realize a lot of people don't listen to music. You got young people, older people. We here to educate and give them that musical education. So
I barely remember that dude's song. Barely.
I mean, I didn't remember the song at all. I barely remembered the artist.
Oh, yeah. You know what's funny on that album? It was the first time he had DMX and Jay-Z on the track. So It went back all the way to then. So
look, even Kim looks confused. And Kim, you get it too.
But that one wasn't his hit though. His tri-state hit was "It's Real," right? It's
I
real.
don't even remember.
This was one of the hits. This was one of the hits. But yeah, "It's Real" was another one too. But that one was the sample right there that they used, and that's what it is. So I'll catch y'all next break.
All right, thanks to the doctor. He was like, I'm not losing
anymore.
Right,
like, y'all lost, not me. Y'all didn't know it, not me.
Yo. I mean, shout out to Mike Geronimo. Like, I barely remember Mike Geronimo. I absolutely remember none of his music. And I'm a challenging doctor. I think that was not fair. Actually, I'm saying that was an unfair sample usage right there, Air Doctor. Because you gotta run a hit, homie. You gotta run a hit, baby.
Hey yo, and then he blamed it on his son. you know you couldn't say that about his son, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. That's it.
No, anyway, I see clearly Ear Doctor is educating his babies about, digging in the crates of hip hop, which is wonderful, but showed it. Help the rest of us out.
You went too deep that time.
All right, well, look, if we can, let's go ahead and spin the globe and do our best to pay tribute to Glenn Ford by putting some of his analysis on the news of the day. All right, let's see. All right, let's go. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Welcome back. Bring up some of these news stories and see what's happening out here. Well, let me start with this one. I had mentioned this piece of the story the other day. I just wanted to do a quick follow-up on it from the good folks at Wall Street on Parade. I had mentioned this issue of China using its political power. First of all, can I just quickly say shout out to everybody that followed up with us about the after party discussion yesterday. I got a lot of feedback. I think we got some collectively, we got a good amount of feedback on that issue. And we are going to continue to build on that. So I just quickly, I forgot to say that earlier. Shout out to everybody who appreciated that and wants us to continue to build. In fact, got a couple long emails that I haven't finished reading yet in response to that. So I look forward to that as well. So anyway, but I mentioned that the point about the Chinese Communist Party using its political power and control of the state to in the area of privatized education and tutoring to wipe out an industry for the betterment, as they put it, of their own teachers and students. And this is just part of what was done. And I have to say, I love it, because what they did was basically cut off some of the biggest U.S. banks who had invested in this when it was on the stock exchange. And when, by removing it from the stock exchange, as it says here, eviscerated more than $6.5 billion from U.S. leading banks. So for all the talk about what was not real earlier this year around GameStop and the so-called little guy getting back at hedge funds and whatever and all of that, which is not what happened, here we have an actual case where Chinese political power from the Communist Party literally took away a whole bunch of money from the most elite banks and have redistributed back in a different kind of way back to their own people. So just wanted to quickly follow up with that one real quick.
No doubt. Good thing. Made in China.
It was right. When you brought up that story yesterday, Jared.
Sure. Go ahead.
It reminded me of when I was younger, right? As a kid, I come from a family of cigarette smokers, and it was always baffling to me, like the messages that we were receiving in school about, smoking cigarettes is bad, it'll kill you. And I would go back and tell my family members, hey, they're telling us in school smoking is bad, it's going to kill you. And then I got to thinking as a child, I'm like, well, why do we sell something? Why is something that kills people readily available? Well, welcome to capitalism, child. and that was my first real education as to what capitalism was, because it didn't make any sense to me. So shout out to the communist China for seemingly doing something that will benefit the whole of their society, as opposed to us that, we sell, instruments of death routinely to our citizens. So there's that. So anyway.
Hey, I've shared a little bit about my use of heavy drugs, but it was quitting nicotine and cigarettes that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Heroin,
30 years ago.
That shit is heroin.
Nicotine, yeah. And if anybody wants a real lesson in propaganda, just look at to Kim's point, how it was taught to us that cigarettes would be acceptable, even despite the warnings and the medical data. It's pretty deep to get people to smoke even while they know it's going to kill them.
It's gangster.
But for all the negative news we started with this morning, the good news I just want to share with everybody is that Facebook is reporting a 56% revenue gain, and Apple is itself struggling a little bit, but revenue for Facebook is up, everybody. So I just wanted to,
which I'm shocked at, because people keep on telling me Facebook is dead.
But
I think they don't use Facebook no more.
I think it has to do with what your network is too. I think the thing is, we have a small bubble of people telling us what's dead and what's alive, but clearly, according to the numbers, it's not the case. So I think that,
But I think I don't know the details, and so I don't want to. But I suspect it has more to do with stock being inflated by intelligence agency and major corporation investment, and not necessarily it being the hottest thing among 18 to 34-year-olds, right. But somewhere in there, because remember, Facebook isn't just the face, pun intended, the platform. It's a whole bunch of data mining, a whole bunch of research. It's a whole bunch of other stuff. So just like Amazon,
the revenue generation from selling ads and the revenue generation from selling our private information to other companies and so forth.
And does that count with Facebook owns IG as well, correct?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Facebook ain't going nowhere.
Instagram is just a mall. Like Instagram is just shopping opportunities. Basically, every time I log on to Instagram, you have a shopping notification. Like, oh, okay. What about my cousin? Did they post anything? So,
and they're good too. I mean, when I see the algorithm works, when I scroll through my timeline and I see the ads that come up, it's almost always for something that I would want. So I have to consciously, remind myself, A, you can't afford it, and then B, they're messing with you.
Yes.
And not just Facebook. I remember like earlier this year, I was looking for a tabletop and did some quick 5-minute research. Next day, the New York Times ads were all about tables and stuff like that. Facebook, whatever it was, I went on for the next like 4 days. That's what I saw popping up in my face. So I was like, okay,
definitely that. So I want to pose a question. Sure. To the folks in the chat room. Of course, I'm not going to look right now, but to the folks in the chat room, we at BPM and the RemiX Morning Show, we're definitely looking to move forward in uncharted waters. Where would you all suggest that we go for our marketing and advertising? Would you suggest an Instagram or Facebook or Twitter? You know what I mean? Let us know, because of the fact that for all practical purposes, you all are a marketing and promotions team, even though we didn't tell you yet. But, so give us some advice. What are your thoughts? We're clearly not the 1834 crew.
No.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to see what folks say about that. I won't know until later, though. So.
Y'all brothers gotta learn the art of the glance. Man, just glance and keep it moving, man. You ain't gotta, dig down into the chapters of the chat. Just glance, bruh.
Yeah,
glance.
Well, with us, if we glance, there's a chance we might have to dance. You know what I mean? So.
That's what I'm saying. But y'all can't be reactionaries, gentlemen. If somebody say in the chat, Kalanji feet stink, you gonna stop the whole show and be like, "Hey, bruh, my feet smell like eucalyptus and tea tree oil."
I'll say something like, "Damn, your mother be snitching." You know what I mean? It's just nothing. It's all good. I do this. You know what I'm saying? So tell your mom to keep my feet out of her mouth. I say something like that. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Let's get back to the news. Just the news.
Anyway, we talk about the news today, man.
Let's get back to some good, clean news with Jay-Z and Will Smith, who are, excuse me, by my estimation, are involved in promoting subprime, the next subprime lending scandal and collapse. They are, of course, would prefer it be branded differently, as they are claiming to be helping people move from renting to owning by collaborating to support a rent-to-own firm. So as it says here, a startup helps renters build credit until they can buy a place, is raising $165 million from a group of investors that includes Sequoia Capital, Jay-Z's Rock Nation, and Will Smith's Dreamers Venture Capital, or VC. Landis Technologies, founded by Cyril Berdugo and Tom Pettit, caters to would-be homeowners who can't afford to buy. The company purchases a house and rents it to the client until they can, by the way, this is another reason why property values are going up. Purchase a house and rents it to a client until they can qualify for a mortgage. The client can buy it back at a predetermined price up to 2 years after the initial acquisition. This model is a new spin on the rent-to-own strategy that has been employed by other companies, including, here we go, Home Partners of America, which Blackstone Group Incorporated recently agreed to acquire for $6 billion. As part of its service, Landis provides coaching for clients on how to manage their finances to improve their credit and save the amount they need for a down payment. Again, as I said,
I read one more part. Yep. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, go ahead. Please go ahead.
I always, because this is the part that I always love about the companies when they tell you about the altruism, like why they're doing it. Financial inclusion is really important to us.
Yes.
We're very proud to be a part of wealth creation for low-income Americans.
That's it.
I mean, that's what they're
doing.
You know, do you have a track record of creating wealth for low-income Americans? Like, do you have a demonstrated history of this, or this is just your goal?
Yeah, they do. This is like a 360 deal. You know what I'm saying? Basically, it's like we're going to put this house in your name because that's all it is, and you can purchase it back in 2 years. Explain to me if you're doing so damn bad that you want to go through this particular program, is 2 years enough time for you to be able to come back and purchase this whole joint full? I don't think it works like that.
Listen, this is what Wells Fargo was doing under a different guise back in 2008. This is just another version of quote unquote financial literacy, getting loans to people that can't afford it. And then watch, when the next collapse happens, they're going to come back and say, it's because all these poor people were getting all these mortgages. If you would have just Right. But Kamal, this is where I think I'm so glad you had us read that, because this is where I think we get tripped up. The statement that you read from is honest, because what we don't understand, what we are tricked into forgetting, is that when they say low income Americans, what they really mean, they don't mean poor people. They mean people whose wealth does not come from income but capital gains. So so the wealthiest that they're really increasing the wealth for, they are low income because they don't live off of an income like we do. We work, get an income off of a salary. They live off of the wealth from our labor, which comes as capital gains, which is why they don't mind, which is why they pay almost no taxes on it, while we pay all taxes on our income. So he's being truthful. They are building wealth for low income Americans. He just left out the high capital gains Americans. That's the part that he left out.
Gotta love these people.
Anyway.
Shout out to Jay-Z and Will Smith still in that bullshit. Go ahead.
Scamming. I mean, how is that different from like Rent-A-Center, right? You know what I'm saying? You go to Rent-A-Center and you get charged $1,500 for a $750 television, right? But you're gonna pay that $1,500 because they let you have it rent to own. So how this sounds just like that kind of scam, just on a bigger scale. And at the end of that scam, they're not just gonna come take your TV, they're gonna put you the fuck out the house.
Which we just talked about yesterday is gonna happen again. This is it's the beautiful cycle of abuse that continues in this country.
Beautiful cycle or psycho? The psycho ass system.
There it is. But and that's, by the way, they're also increasing wealth for the wealthy because all of this transaction raises the stock value again of mortgages, etc. Raises the value of mortgages. So so all of these property values go up, and the people that own them are loving it. Nobody can actually afford them, and soon there will be a collapse. Everybody will be in the street again, and they'll come back to blaming the poor and wondering why are they so upset and they are in the street. I just don't understand.
Legal loan sharking. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
And by the way, again, I got to come back to the good people at Wall Street on Parade for this, because just another example of how this is all working. The Fed announces plans to permanently backstop Wall Street with a standing repo loan facility of $500 billion starting tomorrow. So I don't claim to be an expert on all this, but when I have looked up how this basically works, what is essentially happening is that the New York Fed, which is a privately owned collection of banks, it's not a federal authority, is being petitioned by this group of 30 working group to backstop through repo loans, which is basically just an agreement to, on a daily basis, lend the biggest banks all the money they need to keep all of their stock values up and to keep all of their money and ability to lend to others going. And one of the reasons why I just wanted to bring that up quickly is because if you look, and this is again, I would bring this back to our after party conversation, but if you look at what the Group of 30 is, this is them organizing. The Group of 30, established in 1978, is an independent global body comprised of economic and financial leaders from the public and private sectors and academia. It aims to deepen understanding of global economic financial issues and blah, 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 blah. What it really is an organized group of very wealthy and powerful people who get together to lobby the federal government to enact legislation and policy that will allow it to do whatever the hell it wants. Then again, they come back to us and tell us, you start a small business and save your money and go to financial literacy classes and let Jay-Z and Will Smith teach you how to afford a house. Meanwhile, they just go to their friends and say, yo, we need another $500 billion daily funneled back into our buddies' banks to make sure that they keep up all the money they're accustomed to. So make it happen. And that's that. I mean, anyway, so just
and they also look to be the propaganda arm when they say things like making sure people understand how the global system works. That means let me tell you why this is good for you, even though it really ain't, and it's good for me, right? And then you again will always be blaming yourself. You'll never be blaming us. You'll never want to change anything. That's
right.
Because you think it's all because you don't pull your pants up, as you've been taught to believe.
I mean, well, the good thing about it, we can now take Bitcoin advice from Spike Lee and Megan Thee Stallion, and now you can get some housing advice from Will Smith and Jay-Z. I mean, like, what the fuck is next? I mean, we got get security advice from Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, what's that?
That's going to be the next conversation at the Red Table Talk or whatever.
Oh, man.
Well, that story is interesting, Jared, especially contrasted against the clip that's gone viral on social media, especially Twitter, of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi explaining why canceling student loan debt would not be a good idea. Because say if you as a parent just started to pay for your child's college education and then that student loan debt gets wiped away, isn't that not fair? Wouldn't you be unhappy if everyone else's debt got wiped away while you just finished paying for your child's full college education? I mean, the hypocrisy between making sure that Wall Street always has the money that it needs at all times, that's our money, but even the idea of canceling student loan debt, which is basically pennies compared to what the shit that Wall Street operates on, just goes to show you that the Democrats that are elected are not our friends, not interested in our issues, and cannot be pushed to the left because they are too much beholden to Wall Street and big banks.
So you mean the hedge fund supporting, investing, insider trading Nancy Pelosi doesn't want us to pay off our student debt? That's shocking. She doesn't think we deserve some debt relief. That's fascinating. Anyway, speaking of Democrats and why we shouldn't support them, we don't have to play the sound on this, but I just wanted to show some of the video captured by the good folks at Status Quo of the rally the other day, involving the famous Susan Sarandon and others, protesting AOC and saying, yo, I thought you were supposed to be real. Ooh. I thought we voted for you to get health care. You said, the Democratic Party was soft and wouldn't even give us a floor vote, and you didn't give us one either.
Ooh.
So it was in there. So they're rallying outside of her office, and then folks were saying, well, why aren't you protesting the Republicans and everybody else? And to their credit, they said, because they didn't promise us what AOC promised us. She ran on universal health care and ending wars and this and that and the third and whatever and what have you. And while she's, to your point, Kim, siding up and hugging up on Mama Bear or whatever they were calling Nancy Pelosi and supporting all of the Democratic Party, backing away from universal health care and the $15 minimum wage and everything else. So just another reason why we can't expect to push him left. And one of the points that they raised in this, that someone said from the mic here that I thought was interesting, was they said, I think it was Nick Brana of the People's Party. He said that nobody has gone into the Democratic Party and become more left.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I was just going to, I mean, because that's what happens is even those who think they're going to be full steam ahead radical, once they get in there and that leadership starts to discipline them, it's like, oh, you want to go against me? Well, you're off of that committee. You're not going to get on this committee. You're not going to come to this lunch. We're going to make sure you don't get these resources or so forth, right? We're going to pillar you in the press. And those folks start to make the compromises and the other compromises and the other compromises and the other compromises to the point of where they are basically starting now to change their rhetoric and be as pro-Biden in general as any other sort of so-called moderate Democrat. There's only a few who've bucked that system, and then they got punished for doing it. I mistakenly said a few days ago that the most left, in some ways, has been Maxine Waters, mistakenly because Cynthia McKinney actually represents somebody who was really left and who ran on Democratic Party ticket and then got punished by the Democrats, like who supported a challenger to her, and because she not only of the domestic policies, but because of how she voted against Israel, right? Mm-hmm. When it wasn't quote unquote even fashionable to question the state of Israel, how all of a sudden Israel supporters put up money for a candidate, the Democratic Party backed that candidate, and that's how she lost her race. So they were people, she got punished for being too left. And always, I mean, when people talk about they're going to take over the Democratic Party, what do you think if the Democratic Party is going to do if they think you're taking it over? They'll just take their money out and form another party or something like that if they can't discipline you. So it's not like you're going to get all that. You get the shell without the resources, because the battle is an ideological battle. It's not about taking over somebody's shell. So,
and by the way, remember how they turned it into all about her hair? They made it. It wasn't
any propaganda thing to make it seem as if she was out there. She's crazy. They couldn't, because unlike AOC, right, who could they hit her with that stick and she's falling in line. They couldn't make Cynthia fall in line, so they put out their propaganda value against her, and then they ran a candidate against her to get her out.
Yeah, she was on the other hand, the more they hit her, she was out in the streets with us. You know what I mean? She was out there talking about Bloods and Crips and COINTELPRO and fighting against police terrorism on a local level. You know what I'm saying? Not just on a national level. She was there with the whole Katherine Johnston case. We was out in the community feeding the homeless while in office. You know what I'm saying? With no security and all that shit. You know what I mean? So relying on the people's security. You know, so definitely shout out to those folks. The thing about this whole Democratic Party situation is folks don't read the fine print in the job description. You understand what I'm saying? The job description is never set up for your black ass to advance.
You said they didn't read the terms and conditions.
Not even happening. It's like I said before, it's like you're a master chef and you get a job at McDonald's. They don't give a shit about how much cordon bleu you've made or how you can make, you know what I'm saying, what type of
put
shrimp
that
dishes
special
you can
sauce
make.
On that shit.
Dude, that's all it is. It's Big Macs up in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's what we dealing with. We don't care about your special sauce. This is what works here. And in an imperialist country, in an imperialist nation like the United States, this is what works here. Torture, domination, destruction. Yeah,
you know, we don't even we're not even allowed to remember some of the basic history of the Democratic Party. So we don't even remember like what happens to like even like the Dennis Kuciniches or Paul Wellstone for that matter.
Right.
Who's what do they say, the something that was supposed to keep the plane from freezing was broken on the plane, and the plane froze and went down, killing him and his whole family. You know, just coincidentally one of the most left in the Democratic Party. They just forget, like we're not even supposed to remember any of that stuff. Anyway,
we're not even supposed to remember that the Democratic Party was the party of the Klan. That's the part we're not.
Oh, Republicans remind you of that all the time.
But I'm just saying,
we freed you.
Right.
This is the party of the Klan, and it's like, I mean, this shit is rooted in our ancestors' blood. So it's like, you know, what do you expect? It's like, what kind of fruit you gonna grow on this tainted ass soil? You know, so again, the after party is necessary, and the after party is even more necessary.
I'm saying there's always an after party. Never let it. It should never stop.
Just don't be like Al and drive drunk. But go ahead.
Just real quick, I do want to play the audio from this, just 1 minute or so, because I think Richard Medhurst, again, he won't say anything about Mumia. even when you ask him nicely to. But he is good on some other issues, so I'll at least give him credit there, and we can make use of what he has here to say about what's happening with the Official Secrets Act and press freedom in this country.
The United Kingdom has a big problem. This government is trying to attack journalists by comparing them to spies if they publish things the government doesn't like. And I really wish I was joking, but this is extremely problematic, even more so for a country that proclaims to be a liberal democracy. Just 2 months ago, in May 2021, the Home Office under Priti Patel published a document titled Legislation to Counter State Threats. And as you can tell from the title, we're already off to a great start when journalism is mentioned in the same context as state threats. Now, this document is a legal consultation where the government is essentially saying that the Official Secrets Act is inadequate and has to be reformed to deal with modern threats. Except by reform, they mean trample on anyone publishing damning things about the government in the form of classified leaks, or as they call them, unauthorized disclosures. In this legal consultation, the government says that unauthorized disclosures or leaks cause enormous damage to national security to the point that they don't differentiate. They don't distinguish between journalists, whistleblowers, and enemy spies. As a matter of fact, the government explicitly says that these things are apparently all the same. It says, quote, "We do not consider that there is necessarily a distinction in severity between espionage and the most serious unauthorized disclosures in the same way there was in 1989. So basically, the British government is just straight up saying that, oh, well, because the internet has evolved and journalists and publishers can reach a much wider audience online, publishing something classified is just as bad as espionage. Because if a spy steals classified documents, they would, quote, often only be to the benefit of a single state or actor. So Priti Patel's home.
So that was the point I wanted. I wanted us to consider that the UK and the US operate from the same playbook, and as they look to more lock down the internet from this country, their colleagues over there are saying basically the same thing. And if you leak, they're arguing you're helping everybody as opposed to just one state actor, and therefore should be punished as if you were the highest level of terrorist or traitor. So I think that's something that we all would need to be considering here, as we still are suffering the aftermath of Obama's presidency, never mind everyone else's, which was the hardest on whistleblowers in modern history. So anyway.
Yes, what they did was here in the United States, even though they still go after media, but they go after the whistleblowers even harder, right? Because the media will have a little bit of protection, First Amendment protection. And so to get around going directly towards the media, except for subpoenaing their records and so forth, they go after that whistleblower and put them under the jail. So you had Chelsea Manning, obviously Edward Snowden, who had to go to another country. But it's that whistleblower that gets the targeting, because that's who they feel like they would then scare off the rest of the folks in terms of releasing information, which is important in a so-called democratic, open society for people to know. Why do you have so many secrets if you are a democratic society? There might be a few, but I'm like, there seems to be too much goddamn secrets that I'm not supposed to know as the person who supposedly put you into office, right? You don't know, you're not supposed to be knowing more than me. I'm supposed to know just as much as you so I can make informed decisions. But their role is to make sure you don't know, right? And for us to, again, believe in the propaganda that we just need wealth creation, and then we should shut up and be happy.
And then look how hard they went at the white whistleblowers, the Chelsea Mannings, as you said, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange. Now imagine if they was not white.
I mean, Daniel Hell, but the thing is but I think they're harder on white folks when they trade, because of the fact that, like, you have this beautiful white skin and you have all of these privileges, and you're gonna betray your founding fathers, the criminals that came before you. How dare you? You know what I mean? So, you get your ass whooped a little bit more. Because,
and there's also that piece like with Aaron Schwartz, they say, we let you come into all the elite universities. We gave you all this entree to work with all these famous people. And then you turn around and try to tell people there's a problem with surveillance. So we harass you into what people say was a suicide. And others have raised questions about that as well. But the point is, so and as I keep trying to say, and others keep trying to say, for all that they keep doing to Julian Assange, they've been doing it to Mumia and others for much longer for the exact same reason. They may couch it with different language, but it's the exact same thing. What was the Black liberation struggle doing but exposing the state secrets to the world of what this country was doing, and they're still being punished for it. So
yeah, man, but that's the way of America, so
that's the way of America,
awfully white of them.
And the UK.
Yeah, well, same shit, different toilet. the bastard children of the UK, so yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So look, I know we got the ear doctor coming up, and then we in the next hour we also have Magoo Balagoon and the technique of the week.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna have a commentary about our dear brother Glenn Ford. So a lot more coming up here on the remix. But my bad, Kalanji. You want to take us into the.
Oh no, we good to go, man. You know what I'm saying? We ready for whatever. You know what I mean? I think it's about time to bring the ear doctor on, man, to clean the wax out our ears. Ain't no telling what kind of sample he gonna have now. Oh, he got Fela. He trying to come back from Mike Geronimo to Fela.
Hey, I had to come with some Fela, show some love on our artist spotlight, and we got to get into the weekend. So let's get a little revolutionary weekend groove on with Fela. All right,
right on. Let's get it. Remix.
What's good, everybody? Go by the name of the Ear Doctor. This is the Remix Morning Show. And right about here, right about now, I wanted to let y'all in on a little bit of Fela. In case y'all didn't know, Fela Kuti, he was born October 1938. He made his transition in August 1997. He was a Nigerian multi-instrumentalist, band leader, composer, political activist, and Pan-Africanist. He was regarded as the pioneer of Afrobeat and African music genre that combines traditional Yoruba with funk and jazz. And he's one of the best to ever do it. He was also, his mother was a women's rights activist. It's a story behind what happened to his mother and all that. I'm sure you need to do some more research, but I'm going to give you a quick little mix and let y'all know a little bit more about Fela. So let's do this. All right.
Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
By the grace of Almighty Lord.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
By the grace of Almighty Lord.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Police go to come, army go to come with confusion in style like this. Everybody run. Everybody scatter. Some people lost some bread. Someone nearly died. Someone just died. Police they come, army they come. Confusion everywhere. Yes.
Dictionary. Open and let you see. I said, open that book and go dictionary. Open and let you see. Upside down and did a proper. Open and let you see.
Once again, that was a nice little mix of Fela Kuti. Real quick, gotta let you know, even songs like this, Upside Down, when he's talking about how everything in society is upside down, it's bastardized. Over here, we follow a tradition that's everything's flipped upside down. You got to go check this brother out, Fela Kuti, right here, Remix Morning Show. Let's get back to the morning crew. Yeah.
The thing where I see, I go talk about upside up and downside down. But overseas, where I see communication organized, agriculture organized.
Yes. Beautiful. Fela Kuti in the building. I heard a little bit of Sean Kuti in there too. Hey. You know what I mean?
Big up to his son, Femi Kuti.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah. And shout out to his mother, Fumileo, Ransom Kuti, and also Sandra Isidore, who two of the most important women in his life. Sandra Isidore actually was on Renegade Culture some months back or whatever. So if you could check out that interview. She's the sister who actually put him on to his African consciousness here in the United States. So definitely check out that story. Remix Morning Show, Ear Doctor, good stuff, man.
Right on.
You made a comeback from Mike Geronimo, man. You know what I'm saying?
and when people do like he said, and they Google him and research, they'll see a whole Pan-African connection to your point. I mean, he touched a lot and was touched by a lot of the African world to put his stuff together. So anyway, shout out to Fela Kuti, the whole crew.
Black music sounding like water to your ears, really, regardless of the genre. It just sounds refreshing.
But while we on the whole, we talk about African culture in Nigeria, you know what I'm saying? I think we need a little bit of Egbe Ogun from our good brother Balogun OJ Tade, who's gonna come drop some moves on us, him and the comrade.
And we know he loves Bruce Lee, who said be like water.
I think Balagoon whooped Bruce Lee ass and Bruce came back. I put money on that. Anyway, he might go to spirit realm. Might go to spirit realm and smack the brown stew chicken out of him, or the shrimp fried rice, whatever the fuck he eating. But anyway, let's go straight to my man Balogun OJ Tade with Warrior Class. Technique of the week. Let's go.
Peace. This is Balogun OJ Tade and
Belay.
And this is Technique of the Week. And yes, I love Bruce Lee movies. We're going to get into it. Dealing with being grabbed. Now, a lot of times people train being grabbed and they're just like this. And the person works technique, but that's not. If somebody's grabbing you and then there's quiet like that, that's odd, and it's not psychologically jarring. But when you really grab, it's something like this, and it may be loud, so you might want to turn your thing down. Excuse my language, motherfucker! I'll fuck you. Who the fuck you think you talking to? whether it's a woman or a man that you're grabbing. Okay, that's how this should be trained because it's jarring to you. Okay, he grabs you by the shirt, slams you into a wall or whatever. What the fuck you think you're gonna do? I'll break your motherfucking neck. Now you have to overcome that. So it should be trained that way because if you just grab like that, all of a sudden you're in the aisle getting your groceries and somebody just grabbed you. I was at a bus stop and a dude walks up to me when I was in Phoenix and he says, "Yeah, you by yourself." A Mexican brother. "You by yourself now, nigga. You by yourself now, nigga." That didn't scare me because of training against that kind of thing. I didn't know this dude. He came out of nowhere. And I just said, "You got the wrong one in all kinds of ways." And he looked like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're not the one. And he walked off. He walked off. I could have gone the other way to him and like, "You're not going to do nothing to me." And he thinking he dealing with the person. But I'm letting him know you got the wrong person and you got the wrong one. Because this ain't just a slogan for me. These Hands University, he'll catch these hands, okay, and more. So we're going to work this right now against when you grab. He's going to grab me. He's going to just put his, I'm putting my leke up. He's just going to put his fist against me because this shirt too nice for him to be doing that. So it's like he grabbed it, right? And I have to get out. And the reason why I would have him, if I was going to wrist lock him or something, I would have him grab this, but you don't have time to be trying to wrist lock him and he's grabbing you tight. He's got you pushed against the wall and you're trying to rip his wrist. You can believe that you can, but you're under stress and duress and he is very aggressive right now and it may be difficult for you to get that off. That's not what you worry about. You think about both his hands are occupied. Both your hands are free. So that's cool because he's not breaking your neck or something, grabbing your shirt. It's just an annoyance. So he has my shirt. Your hands are free. Take this off real quick. You pop those ears. This ear is easy to get to, but the average ears, you may have to move a little bit more, but you practice in two ways. I'll show you. So you pop his ears, boom, pull that head down, knee, not to his face, but to his thigh, his body, whatever you can get. Pull that head, knee, then pull him to the ground. Okay? I do it again. He's grabbing. Wait, first. Yo, what the fuck you think you're talking to? And you tear him up. Okay? Tear him up, push him down, face into the ground. It's that simple. It's what the thing you talking to, man? Pop the ears. Ears deal with the balance. Pop the ears, pull down, throw that knee. If you can hit him in the face, cool. And bring him down. Throw another knee to the side of his neck. I just hit. You just can't see it. Plant his face. Okay? To train that so you can hit hard, put the pads on, please. Cross your hands here. Up top, cross here. So now you push against the body so they get something and you're talking to them. Mother effer, you give it to me. Give it to me. Talk to me. Yo, man, who you think you're talking to, man? You hit that. Then you pull down and you throw in knees, okay? You pull them to the ground. You all right?
Yeah, that was not light, just in case I don't know.
Bring it across here. Marry that to your face so it don't slam into your face and you're there. Right there. Open your hands up wide. Like you're opening a pickle jar. Pull them in. Now, you don't have pads. Take those off. You can use slides. You know the slides on your feet. Put your hands through there. Use those, or just cross your hands. Marry them to your face. Like that. Okay. I'm not gonna hit him hard. I hit hard. My energy will go right through that into his ears. But there, pull him. Knee. Pull him down. Okay. You can pull your tool in and go to work or whatever. Okay. So if you're grabbed like that, he's training, so he's cursing at you. So you're used to him in your face that way. And then smack up top if both his hands have your shirt. And if you want to train to really hit hard, hands cross here, you slap, I would say put slides on at least. If you have the pads are great. All right. So that is my time with you. That's Technique of the Week. You can join us on Saturdays, 1 p.m. every Saturday, Warriors class. We'll go in depth into things. If you look at the core curriculum shorts that we post in the Warrior class group on playlist under Black Power Media, then you will see that under in the core curriculum, what we deal with in core curriculum, we're going to deal with in depth in Warrior class on Saturday. So this time we posted abductions, human trafficking, child abductions. We're going to be dealing with that in depth. This Saturday, I'm going to be showing techniques how to escape if someone's trying to abduct you, grab you in different ways, take you, how to get out of that, how to survive, how to get away, and hopefully how to neutralize your attacker. Thank you for your time. Peace. Be safe.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RemiX Morning Show here at Black Power Media. Again, I'm Jared Ball. I just want to share a few thoughts about Glenn Ford, who's, of course, passing. We just got word of yesterday. Beg your forgiveness, but for me, this is absolutely a nearest moment. Pour some out for Glenn and everybody who's not with us. Writing about James Brown in 2014, Glenn Ford said, quote, "Left unsaid was the fact that Mr. Brown held only one person in high regard, himself. With the release of the movie Get On Up, those of us who knew Soul Brother #1 are free at last to tell the truth. He was an asshole of the highest order," end quote. Glenn titled his final words about Brown, "the hardest working asshole in show business." And I thought immediately that this would be how I would one day write about him. Glenn knew James Brown from working in Black Radio, a station owned by Brown, where Glenn would first learn truths about Brown, radio, and Black media, lessons he brought to his work ever since. So Glenn knew a little bit about what he said. And by that standard, I damn sure know of what I speak now, given that I knew and worked with Glenn Ford for longer and closer than he did with James Brown. I worked with Glenn from about 2001 or so until roughly 2011, and intermittently thereafter until his death, though we effectively parted ways about a decade ago because, as he said of Brown, and what will undoubtedly be left unsaid in all the ultimately insufficient tributes to this great man, is that Glenn was also an asshole of the highest order. Glenn wasn't self-important like he said of Brown. It wasn't himself he held in high regard beyond all else. No, that lofty space was saved strictly for Black radical analysis. His almost singular focus on that made him hold in low or with no regard damn near everybody and everything else. If you weren't helping him evolve or disseminate Black radicalism, you better at least be bringing him a cigarette or a drink, or be careful. Now, beyond that, it must be said clearly that this parallel I'm attempting is unfair for at least two reasons. First would have to be that I am saying this far sooner than Glenn did regarding Brown, though Hollywood will never make an even half-hearted attempt at a film about Glenn Ford, thereby providing some mass invitation to reflect on him or his work. To my point, Glenn was far too radical and correct to have his brilliance elevated to the level of commercial propagation. The second reason, though, is far more important. I will never be to Glenn what he was to James Brown. This isn't a comparison of proximity. It's one of importance, or a comparison of their seminal relationship to their crafts. That is, Glenn Ford was to Black radical journalism, commentary, radio, and analysis, to Black radical media, what Brown was to music, and would only be due to his banishment from any form of capitalist enterprise or the absence of the kinds of support offered James Brown by the most reactionary of cultural industries or politics, that there will be many who don't properly appreciate the accuracy of my claim. Imagine Glenn being invited to even Obama's White House, as Brown was to Nixon's. Glenn Ford should be as popular and beloved among any consumer of news as James Brown is to consumers of music. He was even to Black commentary what Rakim is to rap. Glenn could easily take 7 commentators and put them in a line, add 7 more commentators who think they can rhyme. Well, it takes 7 more before I go for mine. Now that's 21 commentators ate up at the same time. Glenn invented a new lane of expression, revolutionized Black public popular discourse, and has provided more samples to new generations of often less capable writers, myself included, than any single journalist of the last 2 decades. So when anyone bristles at my describing him as I did Brown, I expect and understand any visceral reaction. All would be understandable if not justified. But for a time, I think I knew Glenn as well as anyone could. I wanted to be able to think like him, write like him, bring the funk and soul to news analysis like him. And only I cared slightly more than he did about all the feelings he hurt along the way, never worried about how his analysis hit as long as it hit hard. And it always did. He could be brash, short, in temper, not just stature, condescending and difficult to bring to some organizational spaces. How many times have I said to someone in response to them calling me about the harshness of the critique, but was he wrong? The answer was never yes. It would be just about the way he was right. Invariably, my next line would be, you don't have to work with him, so don't take it personally and move on. Easier said than done, because when it was my turn, unexplained as his actions were, it hurt, and straight up it still does. Glenn's was the analysis I brought to my earliest organizational meetings, having thought I found in Black Commentator my generation's intercommunal news service. I invited Glenn to DC to meet with our organization, and having experienced a version of this myself, did not even recognize this fair-skinned, ponytail-wearing, chain-smoking, how many times did he step outside, tiny man staring holes in my head. But then he spoke. And even when nervous or rarely unprepared by his standards, Glenn was sharp, smooth, and sounded like every man I would have tried to emulate as a boy growing up. When he offered to publish my first commentary, I had to front like I was expecting it. When he invited me to speak on panels on his behalf or that of BC and eventually Barr, I had to front like this didn't mean the world to me. I even developed an introductory line in those instances where I would tell folks that I'm just trying to be the 6th Man of the Year award coming off the bench. When he called me for years at crazy hours, wanting to run by me his latest commentary or idea, I had to front like I thought this was routine. And when he would say, man, we really need your commentary this week because the issue is light, I had to front like this sense of heightened importance was just another request. With Glenn, I was always fronting, mostly like I wasn't looking for, and in him, a jegna, an advisor, a father. But I was. But when Peter Gamble called me in 2004 to tell me that his partner, Glenn Ford, was leaving Black Commentator to form Black Agenda Report, and would I stay to become editor of Black Commentator, there was no need to front then. The answer was an easy no. Glenn had brought me in. Glenn would be the only reason I was at BC, and if he was leaving, there was no point in me staying. Bill Fletcher took that gig at BC, and the rest was history. Damn. But after 10 plus years of constant work, Glenn unceremoniously replaced me from a related project we had begun to build and for which I worked for months. And worse still, replaced me with people he had previously said to me repeatedly should, quote, never be allowed back in Black radical politics for their support of Obama. I thought he had chosen radical celebrity over fidelity to a comrade. I let him know we were done. True to form, there was no sentimentality for Glenn. No drama, no response, not a word. Once I told him I was out, it was a wrap for me and no longer a need for him to engage. My usefulness to his almost exclusive focus had run its course. It was more like me quitting after having already been fired. Since then, when we would cross paths, and even if I directly raised the issue with him, his response was the same, nothing. A shrug, a change of topic maybe, mostly just a dismissal and some silence. But that was Glenn. By the time we came to know each other, he was clear, though I wasn't, that he didn't care about feelings, emotions, and he damn sure wasn't offering me the roles I was projecting onto him. Glenn wanted to create the analyses that would cause revolution, full stop. He wanted to draw and have us protect our bright political lines and to develop a movement to advocate for them. Black Agenda Report was not named haphazardly. Glenn wanted to expose the Black misleadership class, a phrase for which we owe him eternally. In fact, my first assignment for Barr living in DC at the time was to go to the National Press Club only to ask Cory Booker a question that was designed by Glenn to expose him on the record as the latest addition at that time to that Black misleadership class. I was so amped. The Glenn Ford sent me for the new Barr. Glenn and Bruce Dixon right beside him made me part of the vanguard who were early, right and first about who misleaders like Booker and Obama were and would become. Glenn was right about these misleaders as he was about Black Lives Matter, Bernie Sanders, sheepdog and ass, Black press history, the particular tactic of having Barr target a Black radical intelligentsia that would bring value to the work beyond any immediate or observable popularity. He was right about a lot. And to Glenn, that was all that mattered. If he was right in his political analysis, it meant almost nothing that he may not be right in his personal behavior or as a comrade. Like James Brown, his genius acted as a mask, a shield, something to distract or protect him from being properly assessed as a man. Maybe he was right about that too. Nobody will give a shit that I or anyone else might remind of his imperfections because he made his name on accurate, biting, Black radical analysis, and he was often exactly right. For years after our split, it was understandably assumed by many that all was good and through no fault of their own would have me pressed into several uncomfortable working arrangements with Glenn. Not wanting to seem childish or simply misunderstood, I would just do it because, of course, all were right that his work objectively was, still is, essential. Since we started Black Power Media, I've been asked repeatedly, why has he never been on? Each request felt like another gut punch. But I never answered why he had not been on until more recently when Glenn, as he had so many times before when it came to political analysis, gave me an answer, that he was too weak to do interviews. Indeed, Glenn even treated his own physical health as he did many people, with a kind of disregard beyond its base ability to help push a radical conclusion. When asked for whom would you die, I often think no one. Because in combat, I like to think more assertively about those for whom I would take the lives of others. Glenn, for a long time, topped my list. An attack on him for years would have meant an inordinate response from me. And it remains terribly painful that he did not feel the same way for me personally, even as I know he felt that way broadly speaking about the people. But even still, it is far more painful to know that now he is no longer here to punish this ignoble world with his viciously accurate interpretation of it, or that he is no longer here to remind me of the last thing I said to him, that everything I do should have been under your banner anyway. Rest in power, Glenn Ford, the hardest working asshole in Black radical media. Peace.
Yeah, that was powerful, man. I know he's maybe taking a second, but like to express those thoughts, and he pulled that together, I assume, in a day. to express it the way he did. So I've never had a mentor sort of like that close to somebody that you love that much, and then who you felt didn't sort of like love you back, you know, that sort of unrequited stuff. But that was some powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, I think that for me, it took me back to a couple of places myself. You know what I mean? So I kind of I don't know exactly how he feels, but I understand because of the fact that, you know, I've been there, and this particular very moment is almost like a deja vu without me personally. You know what I mean? So definitely well appreciated, Jared. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate the rawness and the fact that, you know, so often when someone transitions, we get this watered down bullshit. I'm gonna just say it just like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody loves you. Everything was all good. Oh, he was the best. He was the greatest. He was this. He was that. You know what I'm saying? But I think he expressed himself dealing with another human being in a human experience, and I think that it was probably the most powerful tribute that I've seen for Glenn Ford or anyone else for that matter in quite a while. So definitely shout out to our good brother Dr. Jared Ball, and also to Uncle Nearest for holding him up, because of the fact that we see that he had to definitely go check out his uncle just to make sure that you know, he stayed as cool as he was. So definitely shout out to Jared, and rise in power, Glenn Ford. You know what I mean? And you know, your work is definitely appreciated. There's absolutely, beyond a shadow of doubt, a hole in Black journalism, at least from a revolutionary perspective. So definitely we salute you.
You're on mute, Kim.
I had unmuted myself and somehow I unmuted again. Alrighty. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. So as someone, I consider myself to be an asshole as well. I hope that I am memorialized in such an honest, unflinching way as Jared did for Glenn Ford right there. Kind of echoing what you said, Kalonji. I mean, you don't have to sanitize how people were. If people were difficult yet brilliant, if they were challenging to deal with them personally, but still very accurate in political analysis as Glenn was, you could say that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that Glenn would probably really appreciate the very honest way Jared not only detailed their relationship, but detailed how working with and maybe for Glenn may have had its bumps in the road here and there. And in honesty, you know what I'm saying? Like tell the whole story, tell it truthfully. And I think Jared just really gave a powerful memorialization to Glenn right there. So personal, so honest, and just very touching. And I can tell it was very difficult for him to do that, but he did it brilliantly, Jared. So that was really dope.
Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing about the remix, man. We can go from 0 to 60. You know what I'm saying? We can come with the hardcore politics. We can come with the jokes, but I think that we honor, you know, we honor the dead and the fallen, you know, and that's just what it is. So definitely, we appreciate, you know, that, you know, that piece, and it wasn't solemn, for lack of better words. I think it was raw. You know what I mean? And it was necessary. And I was in the background. I'm like, man, I'm glad I ain't on the screen right now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be. You know what I mean? I probably would have been like, speak Garvey. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, you know, I'm glad that he was able to take that and share his personal experiences, because of the fact that so often we talk about people in third party, you know what I'm saying, and what we've read about them or what we've read from them, but we don't actually know the individual. That's one of the flaws that we have as a people. We idolize and we put folks up on this pedestal. You know what I mean? And it makes it hard for us when someone comes along and say, yeah, all that sounds good, but also this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. So definitely, again, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would quickly add, in a lot of times we talk privately about these, and Glenn was, for our community, a public figure. So him coming out and publicly stating that kind of stuff, I think it was brave and raw, like we've been saying. I mean, there's a lot of folks who we sometimes avoid, trying to be critical, particularly so soon after someone's passing. Because as folks said earlier, that we know that folks want to sort of, give the roses at that particular stage. And I think he gave the roses but kept the thorns intact, so I think that was the beautiful part of it. He gave the whole picture of who that brother was and what he meant to him and what their relationship was. So, yeah, man, that was just fantastic. Yeah.
Well, let us continue to respect the dead and fight for the living. We're going to take it to the ear doctor for a second, and we'll be right back at you in a minute. We're going to have him take us to another land real quick. Listen to the RemiX Morning Show. Black Owl.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
Do a little commercial break.
Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
Hey, 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 it's Fred Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for you. And Bill's gonna show you a thing or two.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. You take a book, you take a bag, you take a bowl, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. There's a time you gotta go and show you grow, and now you know about the facts of life. The facts of life. When the world never sees you believing up to your dreams, and suddenly you find out the facts of life are all about you.
Once again, a quick commercial break. Representing them old TV themes. Let's get back to the morning show, y'all. You know how we do. That's what's happening.
Making me feel old, B.
No doubt.
Feel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My bad, Kamal. You opened that door, bro.
Bring the energy back up. You know what I mean? Big up.
Definitely appreciate it. I was laughing immediately when he started playing Thank You
Girls.
all that joint. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Y'all back, man. Hey,
I'm like,
big up to everybody out there listening. Have a great weekend. I'll catch y'all next Tuesday. Peace.
Thank you.
That's
Doctor.
right.
Peace,
This is
Doctor.
the Friday. This
Wonderful.
is the remix Fridays on Thursday.
Yeah.
I appreciate you all. Yeah, man. Hey, my bad. I wasn't ready. I thought I was ready. I wasn't ready. I appreciate all of you and all your comments. I did, anyway. So yeah,
if you'd have came back, I'd have been like, that's a cold ass motherfucker right there. But
yeah, I needed a quick second, a quick even practicing. I was like, I even tried to pre-record it and was like, man, this ain't gonna work. I wasn't making it through, so I was like, maybe I was ready, but I wasn't ready. So, but I appreciate.
You were ready. You were ready, Jared. You delivered it. You know what I'm saying? You just had to take a pause afterwards.
A quick break.
Yeah. You got it out, and it was dope. It was really good.
I mean, to me, that should be the eulogy
Really?
The official eulogy right there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because of the fact that that sentiment is echoed. I wasn't around him like you were. I didn't know him like you did. You understand what I'm saying? But I was able to catch some of those particular undertones that you spoke of. You know what I mean? So I can dig it. You know, so definitely you know, what you did was a spiritual moment, even for my atheist brothers, right? So
look, I mean, you know,
it was that moment. You know,
there's a universality to some of what I was saying for sure. But I also think that something I didn't really hit that I think is important, even as we talk about political struggle, and something that I tend to adopt for the most part today. You know, I think in some way, even as it didn't feel good on some level, I think Glenn was trending towards the right direction. Like, we don't have, you know, he had been in combat, he had been in the military, he had been in the Black Panther Party. So there's a certain sense, I think, for him certainly, and for me at this point, of I've been in these trenches. I don't have time to turn to you in the foxhole and you looking for a father figure and you looking for a Jegna and you looking for like, I don't have time. Pick up the gun and shoot these motherfuckers. I don't have time for all of your feelings. So like there's a certain point where I think today we've overcorrected in the other direction, where there's too much feeling in all of this. And there's like we all have to I think it was a Jay-Z line. Somebody said, you know, you got to work that shit out when you're at home. And then coming to the, you know, so even as I admit my own struggles personally with it, I think he was at least partially right. You know?
I'm gonna go off the edge with it, and I'm gonna say that right now, the movement, quote unquote, is bitch made, and I mean that, meaning it's some sucker shit. You have all of these rules, when your enemy has none. Your enemy is ruthless. Your enemy don't give a fuck. But let me say something that you don't like. You would rather chop my head off than have me fight for you. They say elders for counsel and youth for war. You understand what I'm saying? We have to understand our roles and our positions. You're not expecting the brothers and sisters of the Black Liberation Army to just be kind and rub your back and all that type shit. That's not their particular role and position. You know what I'm saying? But there are troops, just like you've been in the military, Jared. There are different folks who represent different aspects of the military. There are some folks who are going to actually fire the weapons, and there's somebody that's in the kitchen all day, and all they do is wash dishes and cook. But their role is not is not insignificant. You know what I'm saying? Their role is very important because of the fact that they need it. The brothers and sisters who are out there, you know, I used to tell folks all the time when I started off in organizing and movement and struggle, I can remember being security for certain folks who are comrades now. I can remember standing outside the doors while they're having the meetings and I have to be briefed. And I might have been standing outside the door for 3-4 hours when I joined this new formation, even though I've been organizing for a decade plus at that particular moment. I could have had my ego and say, yo, I've been in this thing longer than them. Nah, I know who I am. You understand what I'm saying? So like they say, cream is going to rise to the top, and that's just what it's going to be. So salute to Glenn for his revolutionary works, because of the fact that it's a lot of these cats out here who are afraid their typewriters and their typing fingers can't even type the shit that he typed. You understand what I'm saying? Their mouths, their tongue can't be fixed to say the things that he said. Unfortunately, a lot of you motherfuckers think the same things that folks like Glenn say, but you're afraid to say it. You're afraid to speak up against it because it's not fashionable. I tell cats all the time, I'll be politically correct when the politics are correct. The politics are incorrect. So fuck your feelings. Right now, it's war, it's revolution, and that's what it's about. So shout out to Glenn, flaws and all. That's what we made for. You know what I'm saying? And that's why he took the job. Period.
No doubt. Absolutely. So what's next? Where are we going now? What's the plan now? What you gonna do now? What you got to say now? What you gonna do now? No, in all seriousness though, like, you know, we need I don't know how Black Agenda Report is gonna rebound from this. There is, you know, I said to somebody on Facebook, there is no replacing Glenn, there's no replacing Bruce. You know, there's, you know, I was serious about what I said when I considered myself coming off the bench trying to get that 6th Man of the Year award. And I think that's what Barr is going to have to do, find a new group writers if they haven't already. I'm not involved with that, but
even if it's not bar though, Jared. Not to cut your bill.
Cool.
Yeah, even if it's not bar, the reality is we have to look at what Garvey said when he was locked up here in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? A reporter rolled up on him. He said, "Yeah, Mr. Garvey, we got you now." You know what I'm saying? You know he about to go to prison at Atlanta Penitentiary. He said, "We got you now. What are you going to do?" He said, "You may have the lion in the cage, but I left many cubs in the bush, and we're those cubs from the bush. So we don't need another Black Panther Party. We don't need another SNCC. We don't need another BLA. We need folks to come up and be original with their thinking and to continue the legacy of those who came before you. So if bar, we would hope that it continues, but if it doesn't, what they say, energy doesn't die, it just changes forms. Let it continue to change forms and let us put this work into what it is we're doing. Let Black Power Media be an example of that fine journalism. Let us sharpen our shit up. And if we have to be an asshole one day, I've been practicing.
I just wanted to add, yes, things need to continue in new forms and new lights, but it would be great if Black Agenda, which is an institution, continued on and build, and like you said, got that new crew or got folks internally who stepped into those roles. Because I do think one of the things that particularly for Black radicals, is that we lose our institutions so fast because they're either underfinanced or they depend on one particular person filling a role. So I like to believe that, whether it's a Black Power Media or all the other things that are out there, particularly like a Black Agenda, that those things understand that they should be bigger than one personality, no matter how big that personality is. Because that's unfortunately how we, something goes to ashes and we have to start all over again. And it feels like you're starting anew. And some of these institutions need to have longer legs. How the empire's institutions like the New York Times been around for over 100 years, right? Those institutions continue to go, they grow, and they move in different ways. We have to have our institutions be able to withstand the loss of leadership, because then that means we're doing it right. If we can withstand the loss of leadership and keep the institution going, then that means we've done it right. And so that's what's important to me also to come out of this, is to see Black Agenda. And again, this speaks for everybody who's building institutions, have those institutions carry on once for whatever various reasons. People who formed it, people who are in leadership, retire, step down, pass away, whatever it is, that those institutions are strong enough and put in a position that they can carry on and keep that struggle going. So I just want to add that tidbit too. Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jared. Rock on.
No, I was going to say is that because, a lot of us, one of the things that Glenn represented for a long time and we have to have is that he provided that umbrella analysis, or he would say something that would then give us cover. If we might not have wanted to say it, he would put it in print and we could be like, well, according to Black Agenda Report, blah, 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 blah. And then people be like, well, you're hating. I'm like, nah, I'm just reading bar. Like, you can't and we do need that because I know, and one of the things, one of the benefits of, at least for a time, being in his circle is that you see how people react when he would walk into a space or when they would know he'd be on a panel. Kalanji, I know all of us have experienced with people that we work with, or even ourselves at times, the vibe gets, people get like, oh shit, here they come again with that, like we're not gonna be able to get away with that. Yeah. It's that kind of thing. And we're going to need, we need more, folks to come up and to continue that work. And I think, Kamal, you're right. We, bar is an institution and should be, anyway. So, I wish them all well. And I'm sure they're figuring something out or can do the best they can to, keep it going.
From an organizational perspective, you know what I'm saying? We have this tool. We have Black Power Media right here, right? We had a RemiX morning show. So one of the things Kamal mentioned was institution. Institution is very important, right? Institution building, you know what I mean? And that's the one thing when you talk about organization, the one thing that many folks aren't working towards is institution building. The United States and this whole and imperialism as a whole, it is an institution. You understand what I'm saying? It is an institution of domination, destruction, and death. You know what I mean? So I want to pose a question to us while we're here and while we have our brothers and sisters in the audience and whatnot, and folks who like us and don't like us and all that type of shit. How do we work towards institution building? How do we work towards nation building in this particular era? You know what I mean? This is a little political education impromptu, y'all. So we're gonna get this popping right about now. We're gonna start with my man Kamal over there because he has his hands on his chin like he about to do the Malcolm moment. So let's talk about the importance of institution building and how do our folks get started, my brother?
Well, I mean, I would just say that folks get started by either joining something or building something. And a lot of that comes from the idea of political education, meeting people and working with people that you're on the same page with. And like, you know, we've mentioned often, it's not always easy to do, but it's about putting egos to the side a lot of times, or at least to the side and to a point where you don't think your ego is more important than keeping the organization or the institution thriving for the larger purpose that you came together for. Because then that's how cults get started, right? That's how things build up around an individual. And then when that individual again either leaves or gets cut down, then that organization or that institution apparatus is no longer there, and people scatter and do other things which don't become the sum of their parts. So I think it's really important when folks get together, when they think about being radical, when they think about what it is that they need to create. Obviously, it's a war and it's a battle, and you certainly don't want to create an institution that begins to lose its focus of like its radicalness, particularly in this aspect, and instead fights only for its survival, right? Because in that there's a lot of compromises that come with that. But you at least want to build something that has the staying power to keep the fight on, to keep the direction going. And again, that's political education. That's putting ego to the side. That's building organization and structure, and ways in which you communicate that allows for these things to grow as opposed to dissipate. So that's my start.
No doubt. And I would like to welcome folks or invite people. You know what I mean? There are a couple of different organizations that we are a part of here at Black Power Media. I represent the FTP movement, which is a part of the Siafu movement. Kamal represents Community Movement Builders, which is a part of the Siafu movement. Jared represents probably every organization you could think of, known the man. You know what I'm saying?
I'll just say I don't represent anybody, but I support and am a member of Black Alliance for Peace, the All African People's Revolutionary Party. I consider myself part of Community Movement Builders, Pan-African Community Action. You know, all of these groups are folks and others that I support. So yeah.
Side note, real quick. I noticed Jared's swag is getting a little swaggier. I think the unk is kicking in a little bit. I'm just saying. But one of speaking of institution building, one of the aspects that we talk about that we don't often rap about is the communications on the propaganda machine itself. Yeah. And I think that's one of the efforts that we've been trying to make here at BPM, because of the fact that we all came together. We had our different shows and different structures and formations, and we talked about building from there. So a question to you, Jared, from that particular angle, how important is communication, and where do you see not only us going, but just not only BPM, but the people at large, and we talk about revolution?
Well, again, just to follow maybe with the theme a little bit, what I've always appreciated, what I think Glenn was right about, was that we need media and communication and journalism that, he was an emancipatory journalist in the truest sense, in the sense that you work from within the struggle to produce media that would inform and expand the struggle. And you get rid of false senses of objectivity and false senses of being unbiased in favor of a principled, learned, informed, biased reporting in favor again of that movement. And we need that kind of work, most certainly. Now, just very quickly, if I can, even going back to your previous question, one of the funny differences I always enjoyed between Glenn and Bruce, for instance. So, for instance, in terms of institution and building and organization, when I worked within the Green Party, that was a Bruce style response to organization, developing Black radical blocks that would work within the Green Party and build the Green Party into a legitimate third party. Glenn never liked that. Glenn was like, I don't want to do electoral politics. I definitely don't want to mess with the Green Party. He was more the after party idea. So if anything, I would argue that the after party concept is more more Glenn rather, that is getting everybody clear message wise on an agenda, getting them to form organization and movement around that agenda. Into movements that would make that agenda real through some political power. Anyway, that's how I'll answer the question for now. And I think that they I'm more with the Glenn side of that argument today than I was once upon a time with Bruce's point. But I think that either or in this sense, Glenn leaves us something we can certainly build from and work on going forward. I mean, it's a model and an agenda that we can work from and build for.
Yeah, I was checking out the after party concept, and I thought that it was definitely, it's definitely. I look at it as a survival program. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I look at it as a survival program because of the fact that we've been fed this whole two-party system for so long that there are folks who are going to always look towards the vote and electoral politics because of the fact that that's their particular weapon of choice. You know what I mean? So definitely it's a good concept. We have been working on a thing called a block party, which is block by block organizing. You know what I mean? And trying to get folks to run our own individuals, which is always a plus, as long as, like you said, the politics are clear and those who we choose or select know the mission. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, oftentimes folks get in that seat and they forget what the mission is. It's like, okay, well, we about to drive over there. Now we said we was going to South Carolina. Well, I just want to ride by my cousin's house or whatever. He live in Decatur. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go stun on the block, Freaknik coming up. No, that ain't what we talking about. You know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we stay on task with that. But Kim Brown, would you like to add on? I don't want you,
I want to say before she adds on about Kim Brown's show.
Okay.
Because I think your show actually is like when I've heard who you were and I saw the oppositional forces coming after you and I started looking at Burn It Down Kim Brown, like to me, that fire and you may be more explicit than Glenn Ford was in terms of some of the language, but it was like that fire and critique. I think it's like sort of like the offspring of what Black Agenda Report brought and stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that out there to you.
Thank you. That's really nice of you to say, Kamal. I mean, so when I think about Glenn Ford, I think about, how biting his analysis was and how very articulate he was in expressing some of these, concepts of activism and organization. I don't belong to any organizations and I'm not an activist and I've never purported myself to be. I support people, I support causes, I support issues. I absolutely support the dismantling of the United States of America because I hate it here. But like, as somebody who's again being in a broadcasting space, in a media space, like I feel like I've been talking about things rather than being actually hands-on on the ground with stuff, and that's a lot of I think my personal shortcomings because I'm very mistrustful of organizations. As a disabled person, I know how a lot of spaces can claim to be very revolutionary and welcoming, but when you look closer and read the fine print, they don't really make a lot of space for disabled folks, and there's not disability is not part of their platforms. And I'm not saying that about any specific organization, I'm just saying kind of that generally. And I'm still in the process of trying to research places that I think would be welcoming and accommodating to a Black disabled woman like myself. So I'm here for suggestions always. But I find a lot of inspiration by the work that you guys do. I've learned a whole lot just by being involved with Black Power Media, even by doing the RemiX Morning Show a couple mornings a week for these past several weeks now. I mean, I've gotten quite the political in organizing education that I probably may not have gotten otherwise. So yeah, I mean, I'm like somebody like Glenn Ford. like I said, you know, the several times that I interacted with Glenn, you know, and we would kiki. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you know, we would engage in levels of comedic negritude, right? Where it's Black people, the way that we engage with each other. And mind you, I've never met Glenn face to face. Like, I only dealt with him, you know, sort of in this sort of scenario, Zoom and, you know, over internet, etc. But I'm feeling his loss. What Jared communicated and expressed, like I said, I didn't know Glenn well enough to know that he was an asshole, but I could see that. That didn't strike me as a stretch to hear that about him. But I definitely appreciate the honesty that came through your words. And like I said, I hope when my time comes, somebody will eulogize me as honestly as Jared did Glenn today.
I got you, Kim.
Oh my God.
That's fine. Listen, hey man, you ain't got to sugarcoat nothing when it comes to Kim Brown. Listen, and let me show you. There's people out here not sugarcoating.
I'm just joking, Kim. I don't know you well enough. I'm just talking shit.
I don't even want to speak on it. I was just gonna say, just put something up in the air, you know, and keep it moving. You know, but listen, no, I just want to say again, I appreciate all of you, you know, for the recovery time and you know, the build, and I do wish you know, Glenn's family and all his comrades and all of us, you know, a speedy, you know, recovery and back into the fight. You know what I mean? Rest in power to Glenn, and let's keep swinging. You know.
No doubt.
And shout out to all the people. I'm sorry, Kalanji. I mean, come out. We have, this is a big group today, y'all. We had over 200 in the chat today. So if you are watching, and I see we only have 137 likes, and ladies and gentlemen, and that math is not mathing. So if you are in the chat right now, need you to go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, y'all, because this is a great program that we brought for y'all today. So show your love. Show your love.
And I just want to add really quickly that I think 2 points that both Kim and Kalanji brought up is about where your place is. And so you don't necessarily have to join some political organization. The political organization of doing media work is enough. You know what I mean? Like everybody don't got to be doing the same thing over and over again. So I think, again, like somebody, some folks who do the work in their arena, whether or not they're writers, whether or not they're media people, that those roles are extremely important to fill, because it's how you get the message out there. The organizer who can't figure out or can't get the message out there is just kind of speaking to a limited crowd. So you need the media institutions, you need the people who are writing stories. And these days, social media, whatever it is, to get that word out there about the ills of society, how people are stealing and robbing from folks, as well as the fight back around how do you stop these people from doing it? How do you challenge them? How do you create new society? So the role of propaganda, let's say, the role of information getting out there is extremely important, and something that we also have to make sure that we lift up as on par with the role of so-called organizers or activists and radicals. So that just want to be clear with that.
Yeah, and that goes for the folks in the chat as well, the folks who are viewing this, because of the fact that, you know, oftentimes you look at the quote unquote fighters and you cheer the fighters on, but there's no neutrals in war. You don't have a choice. It's not a performance. You know what I mean? I read something someone put up the other day, and a good brother, I think he means well, but he referred to us as some of his favorite online personalities. And I was like, for a minute, I was sitting there like, this motherfucker trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that I don't, you know, no disrespect to online personalities, but, you know, we real world. And you know what I'm saying? There's a fight going on. And you know, we often quote Che Guevara. Che talks about, like Kamal was just talking about, the role of the propagandist. He talks about how the role of the propagandist is just as important as the role of the guerrilla. One of the things with Che, when they were in the fields, one of the reasons they survived because of the fact that it was the people in the towns and in the communities that hung food out on the lines for them to be able to eat. It wasn't like they can run around with a bunch of groceries and shit. It wasn't like they had somebody cooking, you know what I mean? Because of the fact they were at war. So, you know, the enemy smells food, you know, so on and so forth. So, you know,
and in our discussion with the BLA, they said the same thing.
Exactly. So it is imperative that the people support our people's movement. You can't have a people's army without the people. It's not just about, you know, it's beautiful that we have a Daruba and a Sekou. It's beautiful that we have a Kamal and a Jared and a Kim. But at the end of the day, if we're not supported by the masses, then we'll go nowhere fast.
That's right.
I think that the Remix Morning Show, and I could be biased, I think that the Remix Morning Show is one of the dopest morning shows on air, period, not just on the internet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not only a client, I'm a president. But at the same time, man, it's like, you know, we need you all to push us. We shouldn't have to market this thing and promote it. You all telling us is dope because of the fact that every day we see these numbers going. So at the very least, if we could humbly ask, repost our stuff. You know what I'm saying? Tell a friend, send it out to about 10 different friends. Like, hey, are you hip to this Black Power Media thing? They have a lot of dope content and it's free. You know what I mean? So please do us that solid, man, and make sure that you let the folks know we exist so that we can be inspired and continue to exist.
And as much as we hate Facebook, I think the people on Facebook need to hear Black Power Media the most. So if you got friends on Facebook and Facebook is your bag, or you might swing by Facebook hither and thither, definitely pump us up on Facebook, because I think our Facebook brethren and sistren, they need this more than anybody.
No doubt. Well, hey, man, we've had a long day. Shout out Rising Power Glenn Ford.
That's right.
We lost Rising Power to Bob. We can't forget him, Bob from SNCC.
That's right, Bob Moses.
Bob Moses a few days ago. Definitely, you know, Rising Power. We lost a couple legends this week. You know what I mean? But you know, there are more being birthed. There are babies born today, right now, at this very moment, that are being prepared for revolution. There are brothers and sisters who are being born this week who will help to lead our people into victory. You know what I mean? So we say ashe to them, and let us continue this fight. This week we have on Friday, tomorrow, we have the Remix Morning Show will be in the form of I Mix What I Like.
Yeah, oh man. And
yes.
No, I'm not trying to start trouble, but
it's all good. I already see it.
Look, it's and a couple people have asked. It's not a debate. It is a one-sided, biased discussion from a set of medical practitioners in favor of vaccines. Well, I'll happily invite up. We can happily continue on this platform, the other side. But tomorrow morning, we're going to hear from a series of, and I will say, Black and brown radical folks who come out of these same movements who have reached this conclusion. So we at least want to have that discussion, and then and we'll move on from there. So anyway,
looking forward to checking that out as well. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the beauty of Black Power Media. We have different views and opinions and all of that, but I think we all are on the same page when it comes to moving towards victory. So definitely we look forward to that. Also tomorrow we have Renegade Culture. We have LDI. We have a special LDI tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow. Okay. We had to reschedule some taping. You know, yesterday just wasn't the day for it. So we're going to reconvene on that, and but stay tuned. There is a special coming.
Okay. Well, Renegade Coach will be rocking. You can catch us tomorrow at 9 p.m. On Saturday, you have Warriors class at 1 p.m. with Balogun, OJ Tade, and Bele, and a good sister. And also on Sundays we'll be back. We have a few different new shows that will be popping off very soon as well. Stay tuned. Black August is around the corner. We have a couple specials that will be dropping. Matter of fact, we have about a month's worth, so we're getting prepared for that. So you know, stay tuned. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you on the whirlwind.
And burn it down with Kim Brown Friday, 5 o'clock.
That's right.
My bad.
That's
burn it down, Kim Brown. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. She will be burning it down.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be speaking with an organizer from a group called No Olympics that is trying to make sure that the Olympics do not come to Los Angeles, as they are slated to in a few years, because of all the displacement and all of the non-beneficial things to the community that the Olympics tends to bring. bring when the Olympics comes to your city. So while we're watching Tokyo right now, they're trying to bring the Olympics to Los Angeles in a few years, and the people of LA, generally, the real people of LA are not with the shits. So there's that.
You know, it's crazy. I forgot the Olympics was on. I haven't caught.
I haven't watched 1 second.
Nothing.
And then I'm thinking, so what are they going to do? So at least, so I guess the good news would be that all the homeless in LA would be found a new place to reside to make room for the Olympics, because clearly they can't be left out there.
Outside of LA. Outside of LA.
And I was going to say,
on the
put
floor
them in a
or
street,
something.
on a street, and
you'll be bused to Atlanta.
Near you, probably. I was going to say, coming to a street near you. Yeah, that's messed up. Anyway,
or a jail cell near you.
Basically that. Basically that.
So we got to burn it down Friday, tomorrow, 5 o'clock for sure.
No doubt. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. We love y'all. Ready for revolution. We out of here.
Bye, guys. See y'all.